Nerd alert, dork face.
I am not a loser. I just have a bad haircut.
Kind of a major dork.
Oh, nerds.
If you're into science, tech, or unique hobbies, you're listening to the right show. On Get Nerdy With It, we interview nerds talking about their passions. This is Get Nerdy With It.
Welcome to Get Nerdy With It, episode 11. Today is July 30th, and I'm your host, Jennifer Ruggiero. I have a new guest co-host with us this week, Eric Darlington. Hi, Eric.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
Doing great. Looking forward to this.
Oh, I know you're a baseball fan, so I think you're going to enjoy this show. So speaking of baseball, and I should have asked how to pronounce this gentleman's last name, but we have Darren Vazquetelles with us. Did I pronounce that correctly?
That is perfect. You couldn't have done any better, except doing it in Spanish.
Well, how would you do it in Spanish?
In Spanish, it's Vazquetelles, but in English, it's just like you said it.
Vazquetelles. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Darren. How are you?
I'm doing great, and any chance I get to promote my favorite hobby in the whole world, I got to jump all over.
So, I know this is a huge hobby of yours. So let's talk about it. You are the owner of sportscardbreaks.com.
Yep, co-founder.
Co-founder. Okay,
Yes.
Great. So who's your partner?
His name is Josh Helms. He lives out in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and he actually recruited me. So yeah, he's out there now.
Oh, shout out to Josh. Hey, Josh.
Yeah, he'll be listening.
So I'm curious. So when did you get into this? How did you start collecting sports cards?
Well, I started I guess I was 7 or 8 years old, and I suffered the dilemma that every other person my age has suffered. I'm in the same club where your mom threw out your cards once you went off to college, and now you wish you had those cards back, but you can't. So after I went off to college, I was kind of I was too busy being a college kid, so I forgot about the cards till I graduated, and then I kind of got back into it for a while.
But she got rid of all the cards that you had, so you had a good collection.
Yeah, it was, and I remember as if it was yesterday. I had them in one of those tin lunch boxes. Last time I saw them, and next thing you know, I asked Mom, where are my cards? And she's like, I thought that was trash. And but then back then it wasn't so bad because they weren't, you just consider something you like having because you love baseball, you love the sport. But now you look at it both ways. You love the baseball, you love the sport, but oh my goodness, I mean the value of those cards now is just amazing, and how much money you actually invested in cards without not even knowing.
Mm-hmm.
What year was that, Darren, when you were collecting cards at 7 or 8 years old?
That was mid-'70s.
Okay.
So the Alan Trammels and those kind of cards, they are gone, never to be seen again.
I went through the similar story, but mine ended up in a community basement, and after high school, they were history. But just like your observations, nobody was collecting for the value. It was the fun of it, and once you collected everything you wanted to collect, and dealt with that rawhide piece of gum, whatever you did with that, I don't know. That was the end of it, and then it was perhaps 5-10 years later when there was real value there.
Correct.
I remember having probably a dozen or more Pete Roses from '74 that love what they're worth today. But
and you still see those cards circulating now because there are some people that their mom did not throw those away, and you go to card shows and you see them, and then you look at them and you reminisce because you see the price tag on them and you're like, I had that one.
Wow. How much does something like that go for today?
Oh, it range. I mean, there's different ranges. You can see the value of it as like a complete of a certain year, and it has a certain value. Then certain players, of course, are more valuable than others, but it can go anywhere from $10 to $500 depending on the player. And,
wow.
And since back then you didn't take care of the cards as much as they do now with all the protection. As soon as you get a really nice card, you put it in its plastic sleeve and protector, and it's got to be pristine, and you really take care of it. Back then, it didn't matter. So now, the value in those cards is basically, it's based on what condition it's in. You can have we can have the same cards, but if mine has all the corners, intact, it's going to have a lot more value.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Even if I would have been able to retrieve my collection from, the early to mid 70s, those corners would not have been in good shape at all. Rubber
shape,
bands around them.
A lot of creases.
Yeah.
And back then we used to bundle them up and put rubber bands.
That's exactly
now.
So.
I go to a local card shop here, and he sees kids coming in with their cards in like rubber bands, and the first thing he tells them is, "Take that rubber band off those cards."
No, back then it was with gum, right? They had the bag gum with them as well. Is that how you bought them, or did they actually be able to buy them separately?
Some had the gum, some didn't. I kind of liked that gum, even though it felt like plastic. It was still. I don't know.
Some of them would cut your gum. Others would be soft and delicious. You just never knew what you were going to get.
Oh yeah, it was part of the experience, I guess.
Darren, what do you remember other than Topps brand back in the early or mid 70s or whenever you were collecting? Because I just remember Topps.
That's all I remember. I mean, that was it.
It wasn't until when the early 80s when
the early 80s and that's what they call the dark ages of the cards, because then what happened, there was a lot of companies producing cards, and they were mass producing them, not keeping track hardly of how many they were producing, and then the cards had no value, and people got turned off by it, and it was like about an 8 or 9 year period, I would think. There's the card shop I go to here. He must have like 3 million cards of that era just up in storage, and I mean it has no value whatsoever. And he's got people coming in constantly trying to bring and sell him those cards, and he's like, I can't use them, I don't need them. Please don't bring them here. Fire logs, turn it something or you use on your fireplace.
That's funny.
But now it's under control again, and some of the companies have done a good job about keeping track and keeping the numbers low just to preserve the value of the card, keeping them serial numbered for some sets. So it's back to where it's more. They're still making a lot of cards, but it's more products with less cards instead of 2 products with millions of them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're controlling the production.
Correct. They're doing more different. How do I say it? Versions. Like, let's say Topps will come out with maybe for baseball, for example, they'll come out with maybe 14, 15 products one year from different price ranges, some lower budget until the very high end. That's the difference now. Back then it wasn't like that. You'd get Top Series 1, Top Series 2, and that was it when we were young.
Mm-hmm. And they were ugly cards, weren't they?
They were, but you know what? Now they, I guess they're trying. What they do is, for example, there's one set they called Archives, and basically they're using the players of today in the style of the card of back then, and they'll pick a year. Let's do it for how the cards were in '85 or '76, and then they'll have today's player with that version of the card. It's like a throwback type set. So people still have that sentimental attachment to those cards back then.
Yeah.
Everybody I knew in my neighborhood was avid collector, and it didn't take much to strike up a deal with anybody. I just wonder what the culture's like today with, the junior high school, the middle school kids.
It's amazing. I mean,
is it?
It's and you see on Twitter all the time, on Facebook, the trading back and forth is just insane. It's huge. I was surprised till I started. I didn't start getting back into the hobby till last November, to be honest with you. And the reason I came back was in football and baseball is my main sport. There's just a bunch of good players coming out now. Coming into their own. The Bryce Harper emerged, and you have the Mike Trout, and it just keeps on going on and on and on. We got all these young players coming in, and I kind of fell in love with the hobby again.
So I got to stop you there. What's the Mike Trout card worth these days, his rookie card, and how much did they make of that card?
That's the thing, and there's not one. Since, like I said before, like every year they produce 14 or 15 different products, you'll have 14 or 15 rookie cards for that year. It's a matter of which ones the collectors decide is the rookie card. And nowadays, and they didn't have this, didn't exist when we were young, was the Bowman. The Bowman Chrome card is considered the rookie card. So that's what everybody's, it'll be, for example, and it's a product it's totally dedicated to up and coming players, guys that are still in the minors. It's their first professional card, so that's why they consider it's the rookie card. So I think Mike Trout, if I'm not mistaken, I think his would be 2010. I could be wrong; it might be 2009, but it's got to be the valuable card is the one that comes autographed. That's going to be it, I'm talking, in excess of $1,000 easily.
How many of them come autographed? I mean, is it a legit autograph or is it just printed
It's a legit
on there?
autograph, and they have two different types of autographs, what they call the on-card autograph and what's called the sticker autograph. On-card autograph is when the player actually gets his hand physically on the card he's signing and signs it on the card. Mm-hmm. The sticker autograph is where the player, he can't get to the cards, but what they do is they'll send them a sheet of stickers, and he'll sign all the little stickers, and then someone at Topps or wherever will sit down and unpeel the sticker and place it on each card. So that's the way that's broken down. But they are an actual autograph of the player. Most people like the on card because they envision the player actually at one point held that card and signed on it, as opposed to somebody peeling off a sticker off a sheet and putting it on themselves and not the player. That's the difference.
Okay.
But they are actual autographs of the player. And for example, every rookie class, for example, the 2013, they'll have certain players from that rookie class will have, or that minor league that are in the minor leagues that are considered prospects, will have they'll have their autographs, but they'll have different versions of it. For example, there'll be one that's the base autograph, not that limited. Then they'll have the refractor autograph, which is limited to 500. Then they'll have a blue refractor, which is 150, and then there's about 6 different versions. And there's one there's only one autograph of that type in existence. So obviously it's very hard to get a hold of, and obviously would be the most expensive for that particular rookie player at the time.
You really got to know your stuff in this business.
Oh, you do. It's definitely you do, and you're learning something every day because there's constantly new products coming out, new ideas, and new players. It's a lot to keep.
Do they ever have a guy like Mike Trout?
A lot to keep track of.
Do they ever have a guy like Mike Trout sign a card and they put it inside the package for luck of the draw, or no?
What do you mean, like for luck? Actually, you mean the actual pack of card?
Yeah, I mean, if I were to open up a pack of cards.
Oh yeah, that's the only way you can get one is pulling it out of a pack.
Okay, I was assuming maybe
total luck.
Oh,
and then the ones every card that you see that's autograph came out of a pack at one particular time.
That's cool.
Yep.
No
I was
kidding.
assuming that the kid would go to the game and Mike Trout would sign the card in spring training, and there you have your signed card. But then that would have to be authenticated, wouldn't it?
That's correct. That's a different. You see them all the time. A lot of people go to spring training games and hang out and have access to a lot of the players and get their card autographed, and they try to sell them. But people are worried about buying cards that are like that are just autographed in person because they don't know the authenticity because there's so much fraud out there. So the way around it is there's companies that are dedicated to authenticate items. So all you have to do is if you go, let's say you have a baseball bat signed at spring training, there's different companies that you can see when they're scheduled to be in the area. You show up for a fee. They check out the autograph, and it's all scientific and it's done. And then they use a lot of different technology. And obviously they know their stuff to be able to tell what autographs are real and what are autographs are not. And it's happened to me. And they authenticate it. Once they see, okay, this is an authentic autograph, they'll give you a little hologram, they'll stick it to the item, they'll actually register it, and you'll have a little number where you can, if you're trying to sell it later down the road, if a person sees, okay, it has a certificate, it was authenticated by this company, and it's got a little serial number, and they can go to this website and check it out for themselves because it's registered.
Wow.
So it gives them peace of mind when they're buying something that it's not fraudulent. Not too long ago, I guess about 3 months ago, I had a Willie Mays autographed baseball and a Nolan Ryan autographed baseball that I had gotten a long time ago, at least about 20 years ago, on eBay. And there was one here. They were having a authentication service here provided at my local card shop. So I went in and paid my fee, signed the papers, and gave the items. And I stayed there in the store while they were doing their thing and checking things out. And I got the results, and they said, "Oh, your Willie Mays autograph is perfect. It's fine.
Good.
But your Nolan Ryan one is fraudulent." And then they sit there and explain to you why it is, and they show you the exact. This is not normal, and then the end doesn't look when this loop is off, and then they show you what a real one is supposed to look like, and you're like, oh, and you would say, well, how would you know? Maybe with time, he signed different or this, but they have everything time stamped. Well, like they'll have a signature from his on file from each year, so they can track what each year of his autograph would look like. So they even keep track of that.
Wow.
And it's right on point. I mean, it's good stuff.
That's
that day
amazing.
I was there, somebody came in and had an autographed baseball of Babe Ruth. Believe it or not, very hard to come by, because back then there was a lot. Not that there was a lot of fraud, but there were a lot of people signing for Babe Ruth that weren't Babe Ruth. Mm-hmm. For example, a nurse attendant, during his later days, or a clubhouse, somebody that helped in the clubhouse would just sign for the players. So a lot of people think it's a Babe Ruth ball autograph, but then when they have it verified, they find out that it's from back then, but he didn't actually sign it. Now this guy, for instance, he got the green light, like, yeah, yours is good.
Oh,
so
my
you
gosh.
can imagine how ecstatic he was.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's exciting.
It's very interesting.
That's what a cool business to be in, for them to, just start, hey, let's have an authenticator business on whether or not this is someone's real signature. And
Absolutely. And they do it for athletes, they do it for actors, actresses, presidents, I mean, you name it.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. That's super cool.
Yeah,
So,
and they got to be right. That's their business. They make one
Oh, yeah.
mistake, their credibility
Exactly.
shot.
yeah, good point. Good point. Well, I guess you were bummed about your Nolan ball, but at least your Willie Mays one was good to go.
I was going to say, if I had to pick one to be a good one, I would have been Willie Mays anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure Nolan Ryan will be listening to this, and he'll probably send you a ball because.
Well,
of
that would be great. Oh.
So with all this, there's a lot to trading cards, buying cards, and you and your partner started this sportscardbreaks.com. What prompted you to start it?
Well, back in November, I just decided, let me go by a local card shop and see what's going on, just see what they have available. I'm getting interested again, got that itch again. So I went in and I heard somebody talking about box breaks, and I never heard of that before. I was like, what's a box break? So they kind of explained it to me. And I actually went and participated in a few breaks myself just to check it out. And I was like, this is really cool. I mean, I think I'd like to do this. But, at the time, I was like, but I got so much going on, and I wouldn't even know how to set up a website, and I don't even know how to get started with that. Mm-hmm. So I just kept participating in some here and there, and I actually met Josh in one of these breaks that one of the other sites was doing. And, all these sites, they have chat rooms where you can engage and talk to other people that are participating. And, we met each other there, and then we went to, on a different day, we actually, without knowing, went to a different site. And, hey, didn't I see you there on the other one before? And we kind of hit it off, and we started talking about it. And we just talked about what we did for a living, and I guess, he just felt comfortable with me, and he said, you know what, I've been studying these box breaks for about a year, because it's only been about, I would say, 2.5 years that they've actually been really active.
Can you walk us through what a box break is, Darren?
Yeah, absolutely. The box break basically is I would invest in a large quantity of cards in a sealed case, for example, of one product, and I would advertise it that, listen, I have this product, and it's difficult for anybody for certain products for you, it's hard to afford some of these products if you were out to buy it for yourself. If you go to a card shop, you couldn't get a whole box of these because it's just too expensive. So the concept is share the expense with other people. Just pay a fraction of the cost, and then you're entitled to some of the cards that come out of there, and it gives you an opportunity to get cards that you would normally not have the opportunity to get your hands on.
Oh, gotcha.
So the way we split it up is we split it up by teams. And there's two different break styles that are the most common, and it's a team break where you can actually buy a certain team if it's available, if no one else has bought it yet, for a certain price. And all teams, prices vary depending on what product it is and which players are in it. And some teams have more popular players. For example, the Angels with Mike Trout would be a more expensive break team to purchase than, let's say, the Marlins, for instance, at this point. So
do you predetermine those prices, or is it?
Yeah, you do. And you do it based on studying the checklist of the product before it comes out. You get to see which players are represented in each team. Plus you already know what are the more popular teams based on the star players on that team, for instance. For example, like now, the Dodgers is a super popular team, and it's going to be one of the more expensive ones because everybody's after the star, the phenom that just came up with the Dodgers from Cuba, Yasiel Puig. He's the Mike Trout of this year, for example, or the Bryce Harper of this year. Everybody wants to get their hands on a Yasiel Puig, so that's going to make the Dodgers a more expensive team than some other team. So after all the teams are bought by different people, once the break is sold out, then they know, okay, on such and such date we're going to go live. Everybody knows what their teams are, and on camera, I'll have the product. I'll unseal the boxes. Everything is seen. Everything is live. Nothing's recorded. No smoking mirrors. No tricks. You go ahead and you start opening the product, and everybody's there watching. As you're doing it live, you're also recording it for the people that are not going to be able to be there for the break can replay it later. And
when you say opening the product, you're talking about literally opening up
unsealing
a package of 10 or 12 or 8.
Or a box. Yes, you unseal it right there. You're taking the wrappers off and everything.
Okay.
So everybody knows that it's fresh and there's no tricks and no trickery involved, because there has been that in the past. So that everybody's very cautious as to what they're participating in. And technically, once you do the break, as you're opening up the boxes, opening up the packs, you're showing the cards on camera, and everybody's seeing what they're getting. So if, let's say, you have the Dodgers and Jennifer has the Marlins and I have the Braves, every card that comes out of that break, whether it's a base card worth 25 cents or a one of one that only one exists that's worth $1,000, it's going to the person who has that team for that player. Mm-hmm. So that's the concept. And once all the cards are unwrapped and unveiled, then I ship them out to whoever that team belongs to. Now, the other style of break is called a random break. And in the random break, everybody pays the same amount of money to be involved in the break. And what we do is we use, and all the breakers use this site called random.org that just randomizes a list of names or whatever you plug into it. So, for instance, I would plug in all the names of the teams, and I would plug in all the names of the participants. First, I would do the teams, and I would randomize it a certain amount of times, let's say 7 times. Then I would have the list of teams. Then I would plug in all the names of all the participants, randomize it 7 times. Whatever comes out, I match them up, pair them up together, and everybody knows. And then I tell them, okay, then I just read out what team you ended up with. It's just the luck of the draw. You might, for a small fee, you might get the Dodgers, and you might not. That's just the way. That's the. I guess that's the beauty of it.
What's the more popular method?
The more popular method, I would say at this point is the pick your own team, because if you have a personal collection that you're interested in, if you collect Kansas City Chiefs, for example, well, you don't want to end up with the New York Jets. So some people that just want their certain team, they want to be able to pick and choose. There's also a method that we use that's called a random draft team. It's kind of the best of both worlds, because we'll randomize the names, but what we'll do is, based on the order of the names, the way they come out on the list, in that order, we'll decide you get to draft. So let's say you came out number 1 on the list, you get the first pick, you pick which team you want. And it goes down the list as if you were drafting a team. So that gives you a little bit more control. Yeah, the order is randomized of which order you fall in, but when it's your turn to pick a team, if your team is still out there and available, you have the control to be able to decide it instead of just a plain randomization where it's all decided for you.
I see.
So that's the third one. So those are the 3 main ones we do.
How many cards are in a box?
It all varies. There's certain products that are, let's say, 20 cards per pack, 24 packs per box. I mean, over 100 cards in a box.
Okay.
Some higher-end cards that in one box you'll get 5 cards.
Okay.
That's it. So it's just very different. There's just a huge range in difference in prices and depending on whether it's a low-end product or a high-end product. So they're all very different.
So if I were doing draft and let's say I got the Dodgers, I'm paying a flat fee before entering into this?
Yes.
Okay. But then if it were, like, let's say the team draft and I wanted the Dodgers, I might end up paying more than Eric would pay, for example.
If it's a team draft, well, actually, the first scenario I gave you where you see the teams that are available on the list, and you see the Dodgers are 55, the Reds are 45, but you know what? I don't want to pay 55 for I'll just pick the Reds. So you already know the price difference. Now the team, the random draft is where everybody has the same price point to pay into.
Now, do you put yourself in part of the box break as well, where you're?
I try not to. I do when let's say there's 2 spots available and it's and you're waiting and the break is not sold out and you don't want to keep people waiting forever. So you go ahead and take. I'll say, okay, I'll take the last 2 spots, and so I can.
Which is the Cubs and the Sox, right?
So we can get this. Exactly.
The Cubs and the Sox.
In my case, it would be the Braves, but usually they're not available whenever I have to pick. So what I do is to get my fix and get my Braves, I participate in somebody else's break. Yeah. Or if my partner Josh is doing one in Colorado, I buy into his breaks. He would buy into my breaks, and that's how we would do it. Just to be able to.
You might understand when you have a number on the Dodgers because they're hot right now. Call it $55. Mm-hmm. What are you doing with a team like the Cubs? I mean, are there people out there that want to buy the players who are on the Cubs right now? I suppose there's Starlin Castro and the first baseman. I'm sure
Rizzo. Yeah. There's still diehard Cubs out there that they don't care how bad their team is. They're going to want their guys.
But so have that. I mean, they're not paying $55 to buy the Cubs team.
Exactly. Yeah, theirs might be 20, and they're going to get their players.
So you determine that. You determine. Right. Okay.
Now there's people that participated, and they're solely there to and see it as an investment opportunity. They don't care what team they get. They're going after the big time hits, the big time players, whether it's their favorite team or not. They just see it as an opportunity to land a Yasiel Puig card that they can turn around, and what they call it is flipping. They'll flip the card. What that means is that, they bought into a break. They paid, $30 in a random break. They luckily ended up getting the Dodgers. They land this incredible card. By the next day, they have that thing sold.
Wow.
That's how they see it. It's like a treasure hunt for a lot of people, too.
And I know you said earlier what a card like Trout or whomever the hot guy is, whether it's the Dodgers or the Angels, what would a top card like that flip for the next day if he paid $35 or $55 for the team?
Yasiel Puig, and this is kind of an extreme case because he is so sought after right now. There's not many of them that would get that kind of money at this point. Let's say Manny Machado with the Orioles, who's coming onto his own, having a great year. A card of his, let's say an autograph card. It just depends. If it's a very limited, only like to 25, it might get $200, $150, okay. $200, $300. It's something more reasonable. A Yasiel Puig, you get one limited to 25, and you're going to get more than $1,000 for it at this point.
Jeez,
it's pretty insane.
But you can
and then you also have the type of collector that's called the prospector, and all they're interested in is getting all the top prospects from the minor leagues. Doesn't matter what team they're from. because they see it, okay, they're a prospect now, so their cards right now are at an infant stage as far as value-wise. You don't know if they're going to make it to the big leagues, but if they do, it's a great investment. So that's called prospecting.
That makes sense.
It makes a lot of
And
sense.
for instance, you were talking about the Cubs. The Cubs is a team right now that in the minor leagues is loaded with talent. So the Cubs in 2 or 3 years could be what the Dodgers are doing right now, for example.
Right. So if you were or I were to buy the Cubs, I would get these prospect cards right now of the minor leaguers that are in there, or is
If
that
it's a product high in minor, all the Bowman products are guys are prospect is a prospect product. It'll throw in some veterans in there, but the main card there is all going to be the top prospects of each organization.
So
for
a guy
example,
who-
I have a break coming up this Friday, and it's for a product that releases tomorrow called Bowman Platinum, and it's the third Bowman product of the year so far. First, there was a regular Bowman that came out. Then a couple of weeks ago, they had this product called Bowman Inception that did real well. It was just loaded with top talent, and now this one's called Bowman Platinum. It's just the third installment of Bowman this year, and it's going to have Yasiel Puig autographs in it, so it's going to be very popular. People are going to be looking for that particular product.
It's kind of a lottery.
And you get to see the checklist before it comes out, so people get to decide. I looked at the checklist and it didn't look too great for me. I'm not. I think I'm going to sit this one out. So they pick and choose what they wanted to participate in. Then there's some that are just plain. They just got to be into everything. It doesn't matter what it is, and they want to participate and they want to get their hands in all of it, and they'll be there every time.
And they got the money.
Yeah, exactly.
How many participants can be in a box break?
For football, it's 32 based on the fact that there's 32
32
teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then for baseball, it's 30. Now, sometimes they do box breaks, and they do it by division, meaning, okay, if I participated, and I'm going to get all the cards that belong to the AFC East or the NFC North or the NFC South. So it's less amount of slots, but you have more teams. You're going to pay more for a break like that because you're getting more teams. Mm-hmm. But that's just another way of breaking down the product and the break. Just make it interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. So when you have, let's say you're doing a box break this Friday,
mm-hmm.
for example, how do you communicate that as far as getting people to be a part of it?
We have our website, and we also send out emails to the people that register and sign up, like for newsletters. Mm-hmm. We also, our main way of advertising is through Twitter. There's a large community of people that collect there on Twitter, mm-hmm. And you advertise there. And
okay.
Some people do Facebook. There's just different ways.
Can people do they have to sign up in advance, or can they just kind of show up the day of or right before the event and hop in, or how does that work?
You have both ways. There's people that, let's say if it's a specific team break where you get to pick your team ahead of time, you want to buy into it as fast as you can before your team is gone.
Right.
If it's a random, then you're not really worried about it. But you see them all. There's people that wait till the last minute. What I'm doing in this one, for example, just to get people interested early instead of waiting till the end to get it sold out. What I'm doing is now for every person that buys in, so it's 30 spots, 30 teams, I'm giving away an autograph card. And I have a list of the autograph cards that I'm going to give away. And the way I set it up is, okay, if you're the first person to buy in the break, you get the first pick out of my giveaway pile.
Nice.
And in that order, whoever picks third gets the third pick of the cards. And they already see what cards are available. So they want to get to a certain card, they make sure they buy in early to get a shot.
Smart. Very smart.
There's just so many different ways that you have to advertise yourself and make, set yourself apart from other break sites and just keep things interested.
You were telling us about how you got started, and we kind of cut you off. Does that have anything to do with other break sites as to what prompted you to get started, where you were seeing things done maybe a way that you didn't like and wanted to do
it's funny that you say that, because before I met Josh and we talked about maybe getting one started on our own, I was actually fell victim of a fraudulent scam. And I was naive because I didn't know much about the box breaking business. I didn't do my homework ahead of time. and I saw one advertised on eBay, and I was like, okay, I'll just buy in. And what I didn't know is that one thing you got to make sure if you're going to participate in a box break is make sure that it is going to be live, that they're going to be doing it live. And I was so naive at the time. I'm a trusting person. I gave the person the benefit of the doubt. What I didn't know is that it was recorded, and they were removing cards, and there was just a whole scheme going on. Oh. So I was kind of disappointed. I was like, it left a bad taste in my mouth. But then I went on, and that's when I started seeing other people do it and actually participate in a couple of breaks where it was a very professional atmosphere. It was fun. There was people in chat rooms just having a good time, and that's what drew me in. I was like, you know what, this is fun. I can do it. And at the same time, you're doing the break, and the cards are not going to you. You don't get to keep them. You have to ship them out the next day. Mm-hmm. But it's just that kid feeling that you had back when you were 7 or 8 years old of opening the pack and discovering that one card. Mm-hmm. I get the thrill of it, even if it's not for me, if I have to send it to somebody else, but I get the thrill of discovering it. It's like, oh my God, look what I just pulled. Oh, everybody gets excited, amazing. Oh, that's great. And you ship it off, and then you hunt the next one down. That's what keeps you going.
I love it. That sounds really exciting. Exciting. I'm not a collector, but now I'm excited about it.
There's a lot of us out there.
Yeah. Speaking about different sports, we were talking about baseball and football. We have a friend in common, Scott Troll. We'll give him a shout out. Hi, shout out to Scott.
Hello, Scott.
And he was saying that he was about to go pick up a whole box of NASCAR cards. And so there's NASCAR cards as well. I guess there's cards for every sport, right? There's
cards for NASCARs. Well, the main ones are baseball, football, basketball, hockey. Then you have NASCAR. And now they're even seeing breaks that involve the UFC, the MMA.
Wow.
They have cards.
Wow. Oh, so it's
pretty
widespread.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I have guys that break with us all the time, and they're like, when are you going to do NASCAR? And it's like, well, I have enough on my plate handling football and baseball right now.
Yeah. In addition to
maybe
a full-time job,
but
if this were your full-time role, that'd be a different thing. But
yeah.
So,
what's the most popular sport that you're seeing the most activity in?
Right now, I would say baseball, and the reason right now it's baseball is because all the football guys, and this last football draft didn't produce players that people got excited about as opposed to last year. Last year with Andrew Luck and RG3 and Russell Wilson and Kaepernick, I mean those guys just carried the industry. They carried the hobby. Everybody was so involved in football because of their star quality and they were just great players. Well, in this year's draft, of course, it's yet to be determined because they haven't started playing yet. But people weren't really excited about how the draft went and who was there. A lot of defensive players came out on top of the draft early, and mainly offensive players are the ones that are of value in the card industry in the hobby. So people are not so hyped up about football. Baseball, on the other hand, is having there's a lot of great talent coming up right now and here in the next year or so, and it's just there's so many prospects to follow, and so many cards that will give you good value if you get a hold of one. That it's just the most it's the more attractive sport right now. It could change next year. It's just next year there can be a great football draft and everybody's excited all over again. Yeah. But what people do now is the people that are into football a lot that are not crazy about the 2013 class. Well, they're still participating in breaks for last year's product or the year before with Cam Newton with the Panthers, and Kaepernick was 2011. So they're still doing breaks for product if it's available for those years. That's how that plays out. They'll take no 2013, but they'll go back to the older product.
Mm-hmm. I meant to ask you earlier, do you ever get access to older box sets or boxes that date back 5 or more years?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's different distributors and they carry different products. Usually they carry the newer stuff. But there's a way. You get on eBay and you can type in whatever year you want, and somebody in the U.S. is going to have something that you're looking for. There's not much you can't find.
What's the oldest box break set you've seen?
That I've or that I've seen during breaks.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd probably say back maybe. I'd say back 2009, just because of Trout, people looking for the Trout's first cards. That's about as far back as they'll go right now. Because prior to Trout, there really wasn't these big, high-profile, sought-after guys. And it's like I said, it's like Harper and Trout did for baseball what Andrew Luck and RG3 did for football last year. So everybody's trying to now. Let's say, like for instance, Machado has a breakout year this year. Everybody's like, okay, which year was Machado's Bowman Chrome rookie card? Oh, it's 2010. Well, everybody wants to find a break that has 2010 product in so they can get his card. That's the way most people that are into the breaking the thing. I mean, they're looking for the best value for the amount of money they're going to spend on being able to land a really nice card.
Mm-hmm.
What to shift gears just a tad? What kind of tech are you using for this? You have, I know you have a camera going when you're doing the live box breaks. What do you use for that?
I just have my desktop and I have a laptop set up, and I have the webcam that I use with my desktop, and I just use the laptop as support. When I do my randomizations on random.org, I use that. When I keep my Excel spreadsheet with everybody's name and all the teams, so I can keep track of everything and not get totally lost, that keeps me on track. So that's about it. That's all I need. You just need one computer and a good webcam, and you're set.
Nice. Well, what about your platform that you're using? And I noticed it was Vaughn TV. How's that working for you?
It's doing well. Everybody was using Ustream for a while, and started having a lot of issues with Ustream with lag, and then the commercials were a problem, because when you think about it, in box breaking, you're trying to seem like there's no trickery, no smoking mirrors. You want everything to be seen live, and all of a sudden, the screen goes to commercial, and you're like, well, wait a minute, now they can't see you anymore. So they have to put trust in that during that commercial period, you're not doing anything funny. Mm-hmm. So most of the people that break with you, they already trust you, and they're not going to do anything like that. But that's one of the concerns you have. Ustream, you don't want, if you want to do the Ustream without the commercials, it's too expensive for most of the people that are doing the breaks. Some of the break sites can afford it, some don't. So Vaughn comes along. They're fairly new, and we start using them. They all have their pros and cons. Vaughn's, for instance, it has great, no commercials, but then the recording mechanism is a little bit different. When Ustream is recording it all automatically, and it's right there, and as soon as you're done and you hit stop, you have the recording there. With Vaughn, it just takes a few more steps to get the recording. You got to go to the archives, and then you got to download it to your computer, and then from your computer, you upload it to, let's say, for example, YouTube, and then from YouTube, you grab that and you put it on Twitter so everybody can see the feed there. It's just a lot more steps.
I was wondering, have you thought about going with, well, there might not be enough, well, it might work, Hangouts on Air?
Which one?
Hangouts on Air with Google+.
We looked into that, and what we saw was that it was a little bit too much to do, but for each break. For example, you would set it up from one break, and then let's say you had a break the next day, then you have to reset everything all over again, and you have to do all these 10 steps to get it the way you wanted.
Gotcha.
Instead of it just getting it done one time and then it being set for any time you want to use it after that, you have to repeat the process every time. So it was kind of inconvenient.
Yeah, that makes sense. That would be something good for them to fix in later releases.
Oh, I mean, yeah. It looked great. It looked great. I mean, the site looked really good. It was just too much stuff to do when you have so many other things that you already have to worry about.
Yeah, I hear you. So out of curiosity, as far as you go personally, what has been your most valuable card? What's your most valuable card that you've collected?
That I've collected, I would say, is a Mike Trout. It was a booklet card. And this card, I don't know if you've seen him, but it's like a little book that opens up. On one side it has the autograph, and another side it has like a relic of a game-used jersey or whatever it is. Of this. It was a product called 5 Star. It was a really high-end, made by Topps. And I had that booklet. I also had a Bryce Harper base card, not even autographed, from that same product that did really good price-wise for me. I also pulled, and this was from participating in a break, I pulled a Yoenis Cespedes. He's a star Cuban outfielder for the Oakland A's. an autographed card that came as a what redemption means is that at the time that the product releases, they haven't been able to get the player to sign the cards. So they put in a card in there saying, okay, this is a redemption card, and all you got to do is register online and register your information. And when the player does sign the actual card, we'll send it to you. So I got the redemption, and I registered, and I received it in the mail when it was ready, and it was a beautiful card. It was
nice.
What was great about it was that, yeah, he's a star player, but it was also limited. It was only 25 in existence.
Wow.
So that was cool.
Very cool.
And then another thing we have going in between Josh and myself was we got a little friendly competition to see who pulls one of one cards, meaning there's only one in existence. And I have him, if I'm not mistaken, I'm up 7-3 or 7-4.
Good for you. Congratulations.
There's only one card in existence. Is that what you said?
Yep, they call them one of ones. So you see it, you pull the card out, and it's serial numbered. It says 1/1.
Wow.
There's only one made. They send printing plates too, which of course those are one of ones because you only have one printing plate. And it's the actual printing plate they use to produce the rest of the cards. So sometimes they'll send those in, and obviously everybody knows those are one of ones. Sometimes they send them autographed. It's a really special card.
Yeah, it sounds very special. I have a question. What do you do with the leftover cards in a box break?
What we do, there's usually no leftover cards. We'll send everything. The only time we won't send all the cards is, let's say it's a product that has a lot of cards, a lot of base cards. It's just a lot of stuff to send, and a lot of guys that participate in our breaks, they don't want base cards because it's too many cards to store, to put away. They're not very valuable unless you just like to keep or trying to build a set for that product. So what we
what's
offer
a base
them
card,
is
Darren?
Excuse me?
What's a base card?
Base card is just a simple card that completes a set. It's just the number card, but there's nothing. What do you say? It's not an insert. There's nothing special about it as far as it being limited or a relic or an autograph. It's just the base card that completes the set. If you're trying to put a set together of 2012 tops, you're going to put together the set of the base cards. So there's no real value to it. It's just one card that belongs to that set.
Gotcha.
So there's a lot of base cards come out of certain products. So what we do is we offer the guys an option. He said, listen, there's this one site that we're associated with. They're called cardstokids.org. And what we tell them is, listen, if you guys don't want your base cards, let us know. We will donate them. Instead of shipping them to you and you sending it to them, we'll ship them directly to them. So some guys say, okay, I just want these cards, or just send me the inserts, or just send me the hits. The hits are what they consider, really a serial numbered card or an autograph card or a relic card. So yeah, keep the base cards, donate them. So what we'll do is everybody who decides that wants them donated, we put them together, put them in boxes, and we ship them out to Cards to Kids.
What does Cards to Kids do?
It's an association that was actually created by a kid. It's probably been 3 years now, so he's coming onto his college years, and basically what it was is, a lot of people would throw out their cards or just didn't know what to do with their base cards, and just kept them in storage and never put them to use. So what this organization decided to do was, well, what if we collect these cards, we sort them out, we package them, and we deliver them to, let's say, children's hospitals, or just it's like a charitable site, and they just donate the cards to kids that don't have access, or
yep,
they can't afford to buy cards. It's a really neat charitable organization.
What a great idea! That's awesome.
Very good.
Yeah. So I guess we're kind of hitting our time limit here, but I wanted to ask Eric if he has any more questions. Do you have any?
Yeah, I have one more question for you, Darren.
Sure.
You have to tell me about 1993 Idaho Falls.
No!
You gave up 11 runs. What is that about?
Oh my God! Yeah, that was my last year pro ball. It was funny because the other day Scott, the person Jennifer was mentioning as our common friend, he's like, "Look what I got! Look what I just got!" And he sends me a text message, look what I bought. And I got in the middle of the day, and it's a picture of my baseball card from that year. And I'm like, oh, no. I started laughing. I was like, Scott, why did you buy that? I would have paid you to have some of mine. He started laughing.
Well,
that was my final year in professional baseball. Yeah, those 2 years I spent glory days. I wish I was there again. But
how did you end up on the mound for 2/3 of an inning with 11 runs?
It happens every once in a while. You'll see it where the major league teams they even do it where they're getting pummeled and they don't want to spend any more of the relief pitchers because they got a game the next day and they don't want to waste anybody. So they bring in the guy on the bench that's almost half asleep and say, hey, we're not going to use our pitchers, so you're the sacrificial lamb. You go out there and warm up and get through it as good as you can. So I did that. I got on the mound. I probably walked a few guys, gave up
5.
a couple of hits, a home run here and there. Next thing you know, I think I only got 1 out, and how many runs? I don't even remember it.
Well, they give you credit for 2 outs. They give you credit for 2 outs. The line I got in front of me: 6 hits, 11 runs, all earned, 1 home run, and 5 walks.
But to my defense, that home run barely went out. It just hit the top of the fence.
And I'm sure the 2 outs were strikeouts, right?
That's right. And I think I hit a few. Does it say hit by pitches there?
No, they just
okay. Well, good. Well, it's funny because it's funny because they had to come in to relieve me that same inning, and it was my roommate. He was actually an outfielder. He came in to get the final out.
Well, it had to be some fun doing that.
Yeah, it's got to be some sort of record in Idaho.
It could be.
How exciting!
Well,
that you totally caught me off guard with that one. Didn't expect that question.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for being on the show with us tonight, Darren. This has been a ton of info, things that I didn't know about, and there's definitely a huge market out there for this. So, and also Eric, thank you. I wouldn't have been able to do this interview without you because I just don't know enough about this topic. So I really appreciate it.
Well, I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
My
It was
pleasure.
a pleasure talking to you, Darren.
And Jennifer, give Eric my number because I'm sure we could talk about baseball for hours.
I will have
so anytime you have a question and you want to talk baseball, just let me know.
I will have
Absolutely.
you two connect. And Darren, where can everyone find you guys online?
www.sportscardbreaks.com and also sportscardbreak singular on Twitter. That's where you can find us actually right now.
All right, great. And for us, you can find us at getnerdywithit.com, and on Twitter, we're getnerdy_withit. We're also at facebook.com/getnerdywithit, and we're at Google Plus as well. So check us out. All right, well, thanks a lot, and have a good night, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to Get Nerdy With It. Join us each week as we interview nerds talking about their passions.
Oh, nerds.
And be sure to visit us at getnerdywithit.com.